Are you ready for some good news? God is committed to wiping Amalek from the face of the earth. I'll explain. Here's today's text. It's Exodus 17 and verse 11. Whenever Moses held up his hand, Israel prevailed, and whenever he lowered his hand, Amalek prevailed. As we saw yesterday in Exodus 17, Amalek attacked Israel at Rephidim. The people of God had been delivered from their bondage in Egypt, but soon had to fight for their lives. Joshua led the battle while Moses went to the top of the hill with Aaron and Hur. Whenever Moses held up his hands, Israel prevailed in the battle, and whenever he lowered them, the enemy gained ground. When Moses' hands grew weary, Aaron and Hur held up his hands. Thus, with hands and staff held high, the Israeli army defeated Amalek. And God pledged later in that chapter, verse 14, I will utterly blot out the memory of Amalek from under heaven. So Moses is a picture of the risen Christ who with lifted hands serves as your intercessor, your praise leader, and your high priest, blessing you always. If Christ's arms grow not weary, you are safe in the battle. But why the dramatic statement, I will utterly blot out the memory of Amalek from under heaven? Amalek was Esau's grandson. Esau felt entitled to blessed status and treated his inheritance lightly by selling his birthright to his conniving brother Jacob for a pot of stew. Esau represents not only the flesh's appetite for immediate gratification, but also the despising of grace itself. Esau's inheritance and blessing went to Jacob, the undeserving second-born son. When Jacob received the blessing of his father, it was a picture of grace. In all his unfairness, the story points us to the day that Jesus, the firstborn of all creation, suffered punishment while the second-born deceivers, you and I, were offered the blessing of God. Because he had missed out, Esau hated grace. His descendants, the Amalekites, represent hatred of unmerited favor. Satan is a legalist and an accuser by trade. The powers of darkness seek to bring condemnation against you by digging up your old wounds and failures. But in Christ, God was committed to wiping away your old sins and giving you an inheritance you never deserved. Here's what God pledged to wipe from the face of the earth: the hatred of grace. The new heaven and the new earth will be a place grace reigns. That's the best, most liberating thought anyone could have on the 4th of July or ever. And that's the gospel. Well, that's today's daily devotional. And if you want to learn even more about the fascinating pledge of God to wipe out the Amalekites, you can get the whole radio broadcast for free at sharingthelight.org.